Let's roll. This is SportsRage. I am Gabriel Morency. The pimps, the players, the hustlers, the people that bust them, and everybody else between. The Thursday night throwdown has begun. We're stacked. We've got a full house on the program this evening. Drew Martin back in the rotation, back in black with Drew Martin bets. Brent Beard steps up and in, kicks it with us. Big card Julio in the house this evening. Craig Trapp breaks it down with us. We're going to run the gauntlet tonight. We got NBA basketball, NHL hockey, college basketball. Nagano and Anthony Joshua has actually rapidly snuck up on us. That fight is tomorrow evening. Before we're going to be on tomorrow night, we'll get into that. We've got a stacked UFC card this week. Mike Tyson's going to be fighting Jake Paul at Jerry's World, Cowboy Stadium this summer. We've got numbers for that, but let's get started with the games that are coming up right now. Let's start off in the association. First things first, Anthony Edwards, that was one of the best performances I've seen in a long time in the NBA. He scored 44 points. Whatever. People have scored 70 points and this and that, and who cares, all right? They're empty calories. They're just numbers and stuff. And like Karl Anthony Towns, right? He scored like 62, I think, earlier in the year for the T-Wolves and actually lost the game. Anthony Edwards tonight, 44 points, but it was when he scored, how he scored. Like they were going back and forth, man. The Pacers kept scoring, right? The Pacers could score. They can't stop you, though. So the Pacers kept scoring, and it was like, all right, if the Pacers get one stop, they're going to win the game. They couldn't get the stop. They just kept, the T-Wolves just kept giving the ball to Anthony Edwards, and he did it in all kinds of ways. I'm going to hit a three. I'm going to take it to the rack. I'm going to do a Jordan, I'm just going to stop and hit a mid-range jumper. It actually did remind me of Michael Jordan. I don't say that loosely. Like, I was watching it tonight, and I'm like, damn, man, this is like Michael Jordan right now. He was like, the way, it wasn't just three balls. It was like everything. Take it, stop, play. So he scores 44 points. Of course, I got the over the game. I need to get to 228. They're at 226. There's like 5 seconds left. And the Pacers, great play. Like Halliburton somehow got the ball down the court, and Neesmith was about to lay it in, and Anthony Edwards blocked it for the game-winning block. Shout out to everybody joining us on Sirius XM Channel 159. So Anthony Edwards, man, that was some real stuff tonight. He single-handedly won the basketball game. Karl Anthony Towns going to be out for a while for the Minnesota Timberwolves. They win tonight in Indianapolis. But we've got what a lot of people think, including myself, what should be an NBA Finals preview coming up tonight with the Boston Celtics and the Denver Nuggets. The Boston Celtics are just like favorite all the time, and it doesn't matter who they play, where they play, and this is a case in point, which the Boston Celtics are 2-point favorites tonight. The Boston Celtics had a 364-game streak going. The Celtics had never lost in their franchise history before. They were 364-0 when having a 20-point or more lead in the fourth quarter. And, of course, they lost to the Cleveland Cavaliers earlier this week. So now they get the Denver Nuggets. Big-time game. The Nuggets get classically disrespected. I saw Jeff Teague was on a podcast the other day, and he didn't have Jokic and Murray in his top 5 combo players in the league. Like, this isn't, we're not playing DFS. We're not betting on props here, right? And yet, if we are, Jokic is pretty good at that too. But the lack of respect that the Nuggets get in the basketball world, and, we can say, well, it's evident, but, we can put our money where our mouths are. We'll find out, right? We're going to find out. Was the market right? Making Boston a favorite here against the Denver Nuggets. I'll tell you why, what it is. Like, basically, Jokic is an American, number one, right? He's, he's not American, and, neither is Jamal Murray. So neither of them are like ESPN darlings, right? Remember last year, Perkins went out of his way to, he was, upset somehow that Jokic could be considered to be the end, like begrudgingly. And it's funny how the NBA media is, they're really bad. So, they'll throw out all kinds of stuff, but then they'll just pretend they never said it. So now a lot of them, Denver are impossible to beat. You guys were clowning them for years before this. Who's Mike Malone? Jokic is overrated. He's not even in shape. Who's Jamal Murray? Well, you know what? My money will be on the Denver Nuggets tonight. Give me the Nuggets in this game. I respect the Celtics, too. I think the Celtics are a real deal. They're legit. But, you know, you're giving me the Nuggets +2 on their home court. And I'm sure, you know, I don't think that Jokic would, like, care type of deal or no. But we see their coach Malone is basically like a player. Like, he talks more than any other coach in the league. Like, he thinks he's like a player on the team or something. And I got to believe that somebody's going to light them up by telling them, listen, we're 2-point underdogs tonight. On our home court, we're the champions. Did we even play Boston in the finals last year? No, they didn't make it. No, but they're the favorites against us. So, you know, I got to believe that Malone is letting them know that, oh, yeah, by the way, Boston, people think Boston are going to win this game tonight. So I don't. Give me Denver. I think the total is playable. We just got started. It's 221.5 right now. I got 220.5, 221, whatever. I think I bet 221. It's 221.5 right now. Well, you can get in on this. Denver just took the lead. 2-0 in this basketball game. So we're on the Nuggets. We're on the over. The Vegas Golden Knights are hosting the Vancouver Canucks in a big-time game. The NHL is unlike other leagues. Number one, the players are insane in the NHL, and every game, it doesn't matter. Like, it really is true. Like, you watch the first game of the year, a middle game of the year, late in the year in the NHL, it's the same thing, right? Like, every game counts. Like, these teams are really battling right now. The Vancouver Canucks are trying to hang on to first place, all right? They had a great season, yet the wheels are starting to fall off a little bit over the last couple of weeks. They're back on track. They've won 2 games in a row, right? Big win against the LA Kings the other night, but now they get the Vegas Golden Knights. Right, there's no like rest for the wicked. The Vancouver Canucks, they get the Winnipeg Jets up next. After that, it's relentless, their schedule. When you look at the Vancouver Canucks, they get the Colorado Avalanche after. All right, they get the Colorado Avalanche after they play the Vegas Golden Knights and the Jets. So every one of these games are important. Edmonton is chasing them down right now, and of course Vegas just acquired a couple of more players tonight. Mantha's going to be in the lineup tonight. So I know that. Demko's the starting goalie for the Vancouver Canucks. So as far as this game is concerned, I don't think I've bet against the Canucks once this year. I haven't, actually. I don't know if I've bet on every Canuck game. I pretty much have. But it's worked out for us because they're winning as much as they are. Not going to be an easy game tonight. So I'm not taking it for granted. But I do believe that the Vancouver Canucks are going to win this hockey game. I think it's, Vegas are like 8-2 to the over in their last 10 games, but I don't think this is going to be a track meet, actually. I think it's going to play like a playoff game, and we're seeing things starting to tighten up in the National Hockey League right now, especially with the upper echelon teams. Take the under 6.5. Let's roll.
Laying points on the road in college basketball is an absolute landmine. I would not do it. I won't do it the rest of the year. I'm done doing that because it just consistently loses.
I mean, 3 possessions in a 9-point game in which the opposition now is the clock, not the actual team you're facing, right?
Right.
And these guys are taking up shots. I mean, it's just like, that's why it's the NBA.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Athletes in Canada, Wayne Gretzky, Connor McDavid, no longer can
be part of these sports betting ads.
Now, what's interesting is there is technically a carve-out that will still let these athletes and celebrities appear in sportsbook ads, but it's only if those ads are slanted toward responsible gaming. So you could still have a Connor McDavid saying, hey, bet responsibly on TV in Ontario.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
4.22. The fastest man alive.
The guy just made himself a whole lot of money, did he not? By now holding the record for the fastest 40-yard dash. But if it's one thing we know is that doesn't translate into quality football players in the NFL. So somebody will bite and overdraft him because he simply ran faster than everyone else. It's just rinse and repeat.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Let's do this thing. This is SportsRage. I am Gabriel Morency. The Thursday night throwdown, the Ranger Redhead Cam Stewart once again off this evening. We look forward to getting him back in the mix. But we've got a full house tonight. As I stated, Brent Beard's going to join us a little bit later on, and we're going to talk about something that Drew Martin's definitely interested in, SEC football and college football. It's March Madness, but there really is no offseason in the college football world, especially this year. With everything that's going on, we already have spring practices going on, but we've got conference tournaments, we've got NCAA conference action going on, we've got a big-time potential NBA Finals preview tonight in the association with the Celtics and the Nuggets, and we got a big-time hockey game right now with the Vancouver Canucks and the Vegas Golden Knights Pacific Division style. Let's bring in Drew Martin Betts. Good to have you back, Drew. Good to see you. How you doing, my man?
Gabe, always a pleasure, man. Appreciate you having me on. You brought up a lot there, man. College football, it's almost like this offseason, we got to talk about it, especially with the titanic shifting that's going on right now with what the Big Ten going coast to coast. I was talking about it with a friend just yesterday, man. Like, how are we going to price these home field advantages, particularly in the Big Ten, also in the SEC? It's going to be fun, and we got conference tournaments right now, Gabe. I think you can make the argument right now, and including opening day, we can't forget it's not too far around the corner. This is kind of like the best time of the calendar year, conference tournament, NCAA tournament on deck, to be a sports bettor this time of year. It's a great time. So good to be on with you, buddy.
Always debatable. I've always thought about that, but I'm getting goosebumps right now, and I have great memories of it for me too. You're right. Like the start of baseball, when like the NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs are going on at the exact same time, bro, you literally have like, you know what I mean? There's like 4 NHL games, 4 NBA games. Like, well, you got 8 playoff games going on. You got baseball going on. It's spring, summertime is coming and stuff. Great time of the year. I've always been a massive fan too of that sort of World Series time, right? That college football, NFL football, World Series, college football all going on at once. I'm a big fan of that. People like the first Saturday in May, right? The Kentucky Derby. Usually there's a big fight, boxing match. But, yeah, you're right, Drew. It's a great time of the year coming up. And speaking of which, how about Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, huh?
How about this, Gabe? It's when I first saw it, I was like, I was a little bit upset. Just because Jake Paul, man, if you're going to try to do this, like let's fight some guys in your prime. Let's see what you really got. But, I mean, bringing out Mike Tyson, I love the names. And Mike Tyson is a guy that, I've kind of come to like in his after fighting career, just like his views on life. I find intriguing. He's a very unique guy. And I think at the heart of it, he has a big heart, so to speak. And I like to hear his opinions on life. I mean, I think he's on the wrong side of 50 now. I could be wrong. So I don't expect too much out of him, in the ring, Gabe. But I'll be rooting for him. I'd like to see him knock out Jake Paul.
I saw Mike Tyson's stand-up. He does like stand-up where he tells his life story. They made a movie. Mm-hmm. He did a tour about it. But I actually saw literally the first night he ever did it when I was living in Vegas. And it was supposed to be the premiere night. And we showed up and stuff, and it wasn't the premiere suddenly because he got nervous before. And they said, all right, listen, we'll do another sort of, it's not for real. Even though it was for real. They told him, well, it's okay. It's not really a premiere, but it was kind of, so it was the first night. They polished it. Spike Lee became the producer of it after. They polished it up, but it really was laugh out loud funny. And it was just like 2 hours with Mike Tyson and him telling stories about, like he told this story about how he was convinced that Robin Givens was cheating on him and how he waited basically, like he waited near their house and he knew she was coming home. So he says she comes home and he sneaks up on her in the car. And he goes, I see her making out with like this blonde person with long hair. And he goes, I was all mad, but then suddenly he goes, oh, man, she's cheating on me with a woman, right? It's not a man. But so he goes, I got to be honest. Then I was kind of, turned on, guys. And he goes, so I went up to the car. And when I got to the car, I realized it was that guy, Brad Pitt.
Oh, wow. What a turn of events.
Yeah, so imagine. And he goes, I got no beef with the guy. He goes, it was really funny. I can't say the language. But Tyson goes, I got to tell you, he was so pretty. He goes, I think I would have slept with him. Right? Tyson starts joking about how good looking Brad Pitt was and stuff. But long story short, he goes, Brad Pitt, basically nearly started groveling and crying and stuff.
I bet.
He was caught with Mike Tyson's wife. Mike Tyson. And Tyson said, I just sort of looked at him and glared at him, and he was mumbling and jumbling. It was a really, really funny story. He told some real random, weird stories about how the mother of the Brady Bunch used to visit him in jail and stuff. And he said, I never met her before, and she had no reason to visit me. Just weird stories that you would never know. He impregnated a prison guard when he was in jail. He goes, yeah, you guys don't know this, but I slept with a prison guard and I got her pregnant. He told another story once about being in a limo with Don King after he got out of jail. And he goes, I was in a limo with Don King and they flew him to Miami and stuff. And Mike Tyson said, those old Adidas gym bags? He goes, I had an Adidas gym bag with me. And he goes, it was filled with cocaine. All right. He goes, but I knew I wasn't going through any security. He goes, it was a private plane. He goes, so I got flown right on the plane. He goes, so I got off the plane. I had his big bag of cocaine with me. And he goes, I got picked up in a limo by Don King. Except he nearly killed Don King in a limo once. He got scared he was going to physically injure Don King. So he told Don King, let me out of the limo because I'm going to kill you. So they actually did. And they let him out on the side of the highway in Florida, bro. Right? And Tyson goes, I didn't really realize, he goes, until I was walking down the side of the road with a big bag of cocaine in my hand. Right? And then he goes, lo and behold, he goes, Florida State troopers pulled right up on me on the side of the road. Right? He goes, oh man, I thought I was going back to jail. He goes, my life flashed before my eyes. And the cops were big Tyson fans. They were like, what's up, champ? What are you doing? And he told them, I just got kicked out of a limo with Don King. And they were like, what? And they were like, we'll take you to your hotel and stuff. And he goes, they never asked me about the bag. He goes, I've never been so scared in my life. Tyson, he goes, you guys think I'm tough? He goes, I was sitting in the back of the car shaking, right? With the bag there. It's really, he was really, 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 really funny live, bro. His stories what are you going to do? It's Mike Tyson. This guy's got real stories. But the thing is, have you seen a video of him where he looks good, right? It's like boom, boom, bam, bam. And Jake Paul even tweeted the video out, and he goes, man, Tyson looks good. This is going to be, a dangerous fight for me. Thing is, that video is 4 years old, bro. It's not recently. So it's not that old, but he's going to be 58 by the time he steps into the ring. Even with that being stated, if he clips Paul, he can hurt him.
Sure. I mean, I got a lot to follow up here. I mean, what was Brad Pitt thinking with this woman? Like, as soon as she tells you that, like, aren't you just like, all right. Nice
he was on a TV show with her, I think. That's what it was. They were on a show together.
Oh man, yeah, that's one of those you just got to kind of pump the brakes and find another. Yeah,
it's like no, exactly. Not Mike Tyson, no.
Yeah, really. Oh man, and then that with the bag and the coat. I mean, I have fear in my heart just listening to the story. I couldn't have been imagining him walking down I-95 in the state of Florida and troopers. Yeah. That's crazy, man. But
his funniest story. His funniest story was about fighting that guy. Was it James Green? I don't know if you remember. There was a fighter. He got sued. He punched a guy in the face on the street once and stuff. Basically, there was a guy from his neighborhood that he knew his entire life that was not scared of him, and he used to want to street fight him all the time.
Laying points on the road in college basketball is an absolute landmine. I would not do it. I won't do it the rest of the year. I'm done doing that because it just consistently loses.
I mean, 3 possessions in a 9-point game in which the opposition now is the clock, not the actual team you're facing, right?
Right.
And these guys are taking up shots. I mean, it's just like, that's why it's the NBA.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Athletes in Canada, Wayne Gretzky, Connor McDavid, no longer can be part of these sports betting ads.
Now, what's interesting is there is technically a carve-out that will still let these athletes and celebrities appear in sportsbook ads, but it's only if those ads are slanted toward responsible gaming. So you could still have a Connor McDavid saying, hey, bet responsibly on TV in Ontario.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
4.22, the fastest man alive.
The guy just made himself a whole lot of money, did he not? By now holding the record for the fastest 40-yard dash. But if it's one thing we know is that doesn't translate into quality football players in the NFL. So somebody will bite and overdraft him because he simply ran faster than everyone else. It's just rinse and repeat.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency. So just for the record, Jake Paul opens up as a minus 360 favorite over Mike Tyson. That's the number. Mike Tyson's plus 300. Jake Paul is minus 360. That's what it opened up at earlier in the day today. And as we stated, that video that's circulating around everywhere of Mike Tyson is actually from 4 years ago. It's not recent. Like Jake Paul himself said it was from 2 weeks ago, and it wasn't. He had to get corrected because people were calling him out on Twitter saying, bro, like, he's 58 years old, right? And he says, no, look at the video. And he said, this is from 2 weeks ago. And people are like, no, that's from 4 years ago. And then people are showing a video of, like, Mike Tyson needing a cane. I guess Tyson said that on a podcast the other day that he feels like he's close to dying. So here we are right now. I was going to say Vancouver just scored. Are they counting this? Yes, they are. The Vancouver Canucks have a 2-0 lead now on the Vegas Golden Knights, just 6 minutes into this hockey game. Wow, great start for Vancouver, but we all know about the dreaded 2-puck lead. So, Drew, what do you like tonight? What did you think of this Boston-Denver game? We'll get into some college basketball, but what did you think of that NBA game? Did you bet it?
No, I passed up on the association tonight. I'm sweating out a UC Riverside and Cal State Fullerton under the total 138 right now. It's 14-10 in the first half, so that's my action. I was also looking to, is 9.5 a little bit too much for the Sun Devils in the late night game? I mean, USC, the Trojans, we've actually talked about this before a couple weeks ago, Gabe. That offense, big names. Andy Edfield, it doesn't seem like they all mesh very well, though, the Trojans offensively, and asking them to win by doubles. I have Arizona State circled in that 11 o'clock Eastern late night tip tonight in the College Board.
I'll tell you what, USC, you're right. USC had become a really trendy pick today. Mm-hmm. Like, dude, this number hit, it just keeps climbing up there right now. The Trojans weren't healthy. They never really had their lineup on the floor all year. They're 3-2 straight up in their last 5, 4-1 ATS in their last 5. And I actually do believe, Drew, that the Trojans are going to be a bet-on team next week in the conference tournament.
Sure.
That I think that they could, like, go on a run. I don't know if they could go all the way and win it all, but I think they could go on a run in their conference tournament. But I do agree with you that this point spread is just too inflated right now. People are acting like USC is, like, going to win this game by double digits. And I mean, it's a little ambitious for me. I would agree with that the spread is too high here.
Yeah, I mean, in USC, what they're under 500, like 12-17. You bring up the good point. It's not the same team as they are right now. And actually, I mean, this is kind of, it has to do with USC, but it's more of like a profile bet come March in college basketball. There's some of these teams, Gabe, like when they get healthy at the right time, and they're playing their best basketball at the end of the regular season, like let's say a team under 500 rattles off 3 straight wins and covers against the spread. That's a profile I love.
Well, that could be USC, bro. Because you get into a conference tournament, and Isaiah Collier was the biggest recruit. He didn't play all this year, but suddenly it's like, you know what? We actually have better players than the other team, guys. There's always that team that sort of comes alive late. Remember Oklahoma State with Cade Cunningham and stuff?
Yeah,
they came alive later in the season. But as I stated, I'm not talking about big picture. We'll see. I'd be shocked if they won the Pac-12 conference tournament. But I do think they're kind of a play on in the conference tournament, but doesn't mean I want to lay the points with them tonight.
Yeah, I mean, in USC, I feel like, well, one thing, the Pac-12 is pretty deep. So it's not like they're going to get some easy matchups, maybe in the first round, just because of the buys with the top teams. But I think the Pac-12, in terms of tournament teams, they might get more than a lot of people realize. I could see, 5, maybe probably 5, maybe 4, possibly
Washington
as high as 6
State
teams.
Washington State is in. Arizona, we definitely know is in. Utah's on the cut line. Mm-hmm. Utah's on the cut line right now. For the record, Arizona are up 42-27 on UCLA. Right now. Washington and Washington State. This one, these state rivalry games, I always sort of expect them to be close. And this one is 49-49 actually right now, Drew, with 10 minutes left between Wazoo, who's actually a very good team this year, and the Washington Huskies, who can be good. They're really competing right now.
A little Apple Cup action. It was interesting to see Washington State -7. It was in Pullman, but I mean, in Arizona, kind of pouring it on UCLA as well. It will be interesting to see what happens with like Oregon, Colorado, the Buffs. Do they get in? You know, they have 20 wins on the season. That used to be something of importance. They have some big wins. So it will be interesting. The Pac-12, I can see anywhere from like 3 to 6 teams. Some of it is still in doubt how some of these teams do, and if one of these teams like USC actually can make a run in the Pac-12 tournament, which is one of the better tournaments in college basketball. They're in Las Vegas. If you've never been, I definitely recommend it. That place gets packed, and those semifinals, finals for the Pac-12 championship game, a lot of fun there in Vegas.
Oh, always fun, isn't it? The Vegas Pac-12, the Pac-12 conference tournament, man, that's the week to be in Vegas. People enjoy the March Madness stuff at the sports books and stuff, and I understand it is a great time. We'll get into that in a couple of minutes. Although, like, it used to be free, but that's another story. But the conference tournaments in Vegas, it really is awesome. Like, wherever you are, almost on the Strip too. You're close to games, right? I mean, you got games at the you got games on that corner with the MGM, and they used to have at the MGM Grand, but now the T-Mobile, etc., with the arena there. Right up the street is the Orleans, and you got the West Coast Conference tournament. You got a bunch of them there, actually. Not just that one. You got the Thomas and Mack rocking with the Mountain West. Man, there's basketball all over the place. They got them in ballrooms all over the city, bro.
Oh yeah, and some of the more fun ones are like the Orleans for the West Coast there.
There's smaller ones too. The WAC plays there. Like I said, there's a few other weird random ones. The WAC. There's like 5 to 7 of them. There's a lot of them. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. The Big Sky though still plays it in Anaheim. I think though that one's still in Anaheim.
Yeah, because sometimes some of them start the week before, like this week, and there's a couple of them going right now, the smaller ones, but then next week, and I thought that's a great point by you, Gabe. If you've never been to Las Vegas, kind of a pro tip from living in Vegas that surprised me was, yes, the tournament's fun, the NCAA tournament, but Gabe kind of made a little pun there. It used to be free to sit in a sports book. Now they actually charge you, so it's kind of like you start out 0-1 almost in terms of your bet slip because you got to pay to sit in a seat. But I like the conference tournaments. The week before, I think, is actually a better time in Las Vegas, Gabe.
And from a betting perspective too, there's more basketball conference tournament week the week before March Madness than there is during March Madness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like people think, oh, March Madness, whatever, dude. It's really just 2 days of basketball. It's Thursday and Friday. And then after that, they've kind of made it annoying too, bro. You notice like there's like one game on, you know what I mean? They stretch out the games so much. It's like, yeah, it'll be one game from 12 till 2:30, then another game, and then another game. It used to just be bam. We're throwing all these games at you at once all the time. The networks pay so much money. They want to individualize the games, and they don't want stuff going head-to-head as much anymore. So the real crazy conference tournament stuff is next week. But I got to be honest with you. It doesn't mean I won't bet it, but I've watched less men's college basketball than usual this year, Drew.
Interesting. Okay. I'd be interested in why, but Gabe, I also want to make the point in terms of being in Las Vegas. One of the big, I guess, positives of conference championship weekend is you'll get games at like prime time, 7:00 Pacific, even 9:00 Pacific,
Oh yeah, I love that
Eastern,
stuff.
Which if you're a partier and a sports bettor, one thing that kind of bothers me about the NCAA tournament is if you're wanting to party with your friends, then you're drinking during the day, and that makes it very difficult to kind of do handicapping. And,
by the time it's nighttime, you're all lit up. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas the week before, you can do all of your work in the day and then have a good time with your friends at night. So it's almost like the timing sets up better, if that makes sense.
So speaking of the bubble, as Drew mentioned, Colorado on the bubble and the Ducks are on the bubble. These teams, both of them in must-win situations. And Utah on the road tonight, actually, also, they can't afford to lose this game tonight, which doesn't mean they're automatically going to win the game. So let's get people the updated point spreads for these games. For the record right now, Colorado was up 61-57 on the Ducks with 7 minutes left. It's 53-52 for Washington State over Washington. As Drew alluded to, Arizona State are getting 9.5 points against the Trojans. Stanford and Cal, nobody cares about, but they're playing. Whatever. Stanford are 4-point favorites against Cal. Total 155.5. And what do you think of that Ute Beaver game tonight? The Utes are laying 7.5, Drew.
I like this Utes team. I do. Defensively in this conference, it seems like they're kind of like that tough team when you watch them play. So I don't know. Going on the road, particularly this year, has been tough, and they're going to have to win by more than a touchdown. I'd go back to the Arizona State. We're seeing 10s pop up. That's what you can catch with the Sun Devils. And also one thing to point out here with Utah and Oregon State. Utah, be careful laying this point spread, Gabe. -7. It's right there in foul fest range. Yeah. They're under 65% free throw shooting. I that's almost a combination I will not bet. A team that's hitting less than 65% of their free throws, laying 7 points. I kind of cross those bets off.
And they're not playing for a margin. They just need to win, right? Mm-hmm. So they're going to be happy with a 1-point win, a 2-point win, a 3-point win. Not easy to win on the road by 8, no matter who you are. More with Drew on the other side. This is Sports Rage.
Laying points on the road in college basketball is an absolute landmine. I would not do it. I won't do it the rest of the year. I'm done doing that because it just consistently loses.
I mean, 3 possessions in a 9-point game in which the opposition now is the clock, not the actual team you're facing, right?
Right.
And these guys are taking up shots. I mean, it's just like, that's why it's the NBA.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Athletes in Canada, Wayne Gretzky, Connor McDavid, no longer can be part of these sports betting ads.
Now, what's interesting is there is technically a carve-out that will still let these athletes and celebrities appear in sportsbook ads, but it's only if those ads are slanted toward responsible gaming. So you could still have a Connor McDavid saying, hey, bet responsibly on TV in Ontario.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
4.22, the fastest man alive.
The guy just made himself a whole lot of money, did he not? By now holding the record for the fastest 40-yard dash. But if it's one thing we know is that doesn't translate into quality football players in the NFL. So somebody will bite and overdraft him because he simply ran faster than everyone else. It's just rinse and repeat.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets and when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
This is Sports Rage. I'm Morency. We're kicking it with Drew Martin on the SportsGrid Radio and Television Network, Sirius XM Channel 159. Drew, I don't know if you saw the video. I'm assuming you probably did at this point, but of the high school robbery in the state of New Jersey. So it's like it was on the line. It's for like the league championship. The winner goes to the state championship game, and the kid scored, bro. And they waved the basket off. They said he didn't get it off in time, but he clearly did. It was like 2 seconds left. It was almost like, listen, or like, are you on the take? Or like, it's getting national attention and stuff. I could send you the link. It's pretty crazy. But did you catch last night the South Carolina-Tennessee ending? Because I had South Carolina plus 5.5. I retweeted out the video today. There was so-called a meaningless dunk at the end of the game. Mm-hmm. So they were up by 7. Tennessee are up by 7. And the kid on South Carolina, whatever, they go to just like 3-4 seconds. He goes down the floor. He shoots up a 3 at the end. But one of the kids on South Carolina came flying in, man, and like slammed the rebound in, right? Mm-hmm. And it was clearly on time. It was like the referee right away was like, no. It's like, dude, what are you so into this for? Like, why? Like, and people are showing like he was almost waving it off. It's like before it happened. And, oh, yeah, by the way, the point spread happened to be 5.5, and it would have covered. That was, I don't complain about bad beats and stuff, but I hate getting screwed over like that. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, dude, like, I don't know, like, what, did you have money on it? Like, why is that not a basket? I mean, it doesn't change your life if it counted. Why would you say it doesn't count? But check it out. It was brutal, man. Brutal beat. Great lucky break for Vols backers last night.
Yeah, I'm on your Twitter right now at SportsRage. A great follow, by the way. And yeah, I mean, you got to wonder sometimes. I mean, first off, the high school thing, that one, it's almost like, high school referees. Are we almost putting too much emphasis? Because obviously they're not, college referees. They're not NBA referees. So, did you just kind of lose focus of how much time was there?
Coach James Young's attacking this guy online, saying he's been screwing people over for years. Coach James Young knows the scene there in New Jersey,
Okay, well, there might be something there. I would take the coach's word for that over myself. But yeah, the South Carolina one, right down at the end sometimes with how much money is bet on some of these games. Our friend Matt Holt, he's making a living off of in terms of like integrity in the sports betting market. And you got to think, if there is a lack of integrity, who are you going to go after? The players are going to be tough. The referees, how much money are these guys making? To tell you the truth, I'm not 100% sure. I know in the NFL, Major League Baseball, they're making pretty good money. I don't know about, college basketball. So who knows? Maybe they could be gotten. Yeah.
Not that much. Some of them like $1,000 a game, 750, 1,500. So like, like SEC referees in football have a lot of power. There's a lot of money at stake, right? And they're making like $2,500 a game and stuff like that. Listen, it's going to happen. I get it. There's baskets late. The point spreads are all close nowadays. So like, I'm not saying that everything is always rigged and stuff, but it was a bad beat. Like the kid dunked it with like, there was like 0.3 left. It was obvious. And the ref right away, no. And it wasn't like the game was on. It's like, bro, so does it really bother you that they lost by 5 instead of 7 here at the end? But it is what it is. So you mentioned baseball. We're 2 weeks away right now. The Dodgers and the Friars start off in 2 weeks in Korea. And how about this? The Dodgers are going to be playing. They're getting to Asia early. And they're playing like a bunch of games. Like they're playing their exhibition games. So like they're playing, they're not going to play everybody, but they're playing against like the Kiwoom here, the Heroes. They're playing against the Korean baseball team. They're playing against the Korean national team. There's a game against the Korean national team. There's a game against the team from the Korean League. And they're playing against a Japanese touring team. And you can't make this up. Trevor Bauer is on the Japanese team. And is going to be pitching against the Dodgers.
I love that. I can't wait to watch that. Yeah.
Supposedly the Dodgers aren't happy about this. They were like, really? Are you guys like, we agree to play a game like in kind-heartedness? Like the Dodgers don't have to be playing these games. You guys are going to throw Trevor Bauer at us? But yeah. So they made a little interesting twist there, huh?
Sure, I love that. And Gabe, like in today's news kind of environment, you almost don't know what to believe. And if you hear the side of Trevor Bauer on what happened to him off the field, that's scary stuff, man. If he was really
Yeah.
innocent, how much money that
I
actually cost him.
I
Oh my
do
God.
believe victim stories. Like, I'm not one of those. It's almost like you're a bad person if you say otherwise. But let's just be real, bro. Trevor Bauer, like, for the love of God, I don't understand how Trevor Bauer hasn't won like a $500 million lawsuit against Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
He didn't even get criminally charged with anything. He won. He got sued. He won. Not only did he win, it was deemed so egregious that the woman that sued him had to pay like the court costs because they were like, you don't have anything here.
Mm-hmm.
Like you know what I mean? Like I said, it's always like, you come across as a horrible person when you start like defending, like, you know what I mean? Like Andrew Tate fans and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? I don't want people to think that, but you are innocent. Like you said, people have done a hell of a lot worse things. They've actually broken the law and played sports, Drew. And it's funny because Mookie Betts, who's known as pretty much everyone loves Mookie. Mookie Betts like got called out because he was asked about, what do you think about Trevor Bauer? And he said, I would welcome him back in the room in a heartbeat. I got no problem if Trevor Bauer would be on the team. People are like, oh, I'm disappointed in you, Mookie. I liked you. I didn't think you would think like that. It's like Bauer got railroaded, Drew. He did.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, Gabe, where why wouldn't you? If it's an innocent guy and he's a good baseball player that can help out your team, why wouldn't you say something like that? But you bring up a good point. A lot of people will bash you just kind of for saying what you really think. So you almost have to be tight-lipped nowadays. And it almost brings up something else that, you say like people have done worse things and played sports, but I always go back to the pocketbook. And I'll bring up another controversial one, Michael Vick. Remember what happened with him and the dogs? And then it came like Michael Vick, it came out to like he didn't actually do anything with the dogs. It was his cousins at his house, and maybe he knew. Dude, it cost him over $100 million. Things like this affect people's life in a big way. That's why I feel like, I don't know, these leagues, whether it be the NBA,
the punter
NFL,
out of
Major
San
League
Diego
Baseball.
State. The punter out of San Diego State.
Yeah, I don't even know what happened with that story.
He got drafted by the Bills. He got drafted by the Bills. The Bills let him go and stuff, and it came out after. Oh yeah, he wasn't there after all.
See, like that's crazy.
It's kid's
what
life,
happens to him
but
now?
the Chiefs just signed him. Of all teams, the Kansas City Chiefs said, you know what? Reed, of course, them, eh? Andy Reid. They're like, oh, this guy's great. Oh, sure. Andy Reid said, hey, the kid got railroaded. Like, we're going to give him a chance,
Yeah, I actually commend him for it. And from watching San Diego State a bunch, man, that is a heck of a punter that can change the game, guys. That's actually maybe even worse.
Yeah, his nickname was the Punt God. You're good when your name's the God, the Punt God. Yeah, Matt Ariza. So baseball's around the corner. I'm starting to put together my futures and my portfolio a little bit. There's quite a stuff I like, actually. I've got some home run player props. Something that I've really stumbled upon that I'm really a fan of here, Drew, is Freddie Freeman of the Los Angeles Dodgers to have the most doubles in Major League Baseball. Mm-hmm. He did by a ton last year. He's had the most doubles in baseball in 4 of the last 8 years. And he's had the most doubles in baseball in 3 of the last 4 years. Now he's got Mookie Betts and Ohtani batting in front of him. He's not going to have to try to hit home runs. These guys are going to be on base for him. And or Ohtani's going to drive Betts in. I don't see why he's not just a doubles machine again. These pitchers are going to be worn out, bro, facing the Dodgers. And at plus 400, Drew, I really like this bet. Plus 400.
Sure. And part of that, great research in terms of 3 of the last 4 of the last 8. And I'll also bring up the fact in terms of change of venue, going from Atlanta to Dodger Stadium. I've actually heard a lot of people say Dodger Stadium. I'm interested in your opinion on this in terms of being a Dodgers fan. They'll say, oh, it's not really a pitcher's park. It's a hitter's park. It's right in the middle. Gave my feelings on it. West Coast stadiums, people forget about the marine layer, things of that nature. I think that the Dodgers lineup is so talented that it kind of shades how much of a pitcher's park Dodgers Field can be. You know, there's a lot of room out there, a lot of room for doubles. I think
right.
that also helps your case.
It's not easy to hit a home run at Dodger Stadium, the center field. And something you brought up, too, the air is different. And anybody who's been to Dodger Stadium knows there's a wind up there sometimes, right? So there's a little bit of a wind. You're right. And there's always been that, you know, we know Cincinnati's a sandbox. We know in Toronto they move the fences in, right? We know about Coors, right? We know about pitchers' parks, hitters' parks. The Dodger Stadium has always been deemed sort of neutral. And it's sort of like it depends on the day. If it's hot in the middle of the afternoon, the day, the ball will travel. If it's night and it's a little breezy, the ball won't. Like, it sort of plays differently. But you're right, the Dodger lineup can sort of blast through that. What are some of the futures that you like, Drew? Win totals, divisions, player props. How are you approaching baseball futures?
Sure. I usually attack win total bets. First off, I need to start it by it's off the minus 110. You know, it's not a futures bet, which I like from the get-go. And if you're just kind of new to sports betting, like entertainment value with MLB season win totals, I would argue it's the best entertainment value you could get if you're kind of just a newer sports bettor, because you get it over the course of 162 games. If you like just watching the ticker out with buddies and having a little action over the course of the full season, you get all that, and you only got to pay
how about for like the Dodgers?
To win 100.
Well, how about a good example for the Dodgers? They're going to be massive favorites every night this year.
It's going to be hard to bet.
So so you want to go through that every night? Oh, do I really want to lay till I got to lay to 1.5, and they're going to be like minus 180, minus 1.5, and stuff like that. And when they're at home, they're going to be massive favorites. So sometimes with teams like that, it's better to play the win total, Drew, because like you just said, you know, you're involved in every game, but you don't have to worry about sort of like a football win total. You have to worry a college football win total. You have to worry whether they cover 38 points this week. You already have the win total. It's just another win. You know what I'm saying?
I like that. I like that philosophy, especially with the better teams like that. And another team that I know you're close to and know a lot about, the Toronto Blue Jays. I think that they're a little bit underrated in the AL East. It's a tough division, but it's kind of almost correlated. I know different leagues, different divisions with the Dodgers, because we are only this will be the second year of the balanced scheduling. And I actually think that helps the East and the West divisions in both leagues, both the American and the National, because you're playing more Central Division, which in both leagues is, the weaker divisions. So I'm actually looking to do unders in the AL and NL Central and overs in the East and the West divisions in both the American and the National League. So that points me towards, I think the Blue Jays are going to get more wins than a lot of people realize. And, hey, a team like the Dodgers, I like the D-backs as well. The Orioles, I know they had a good kind of one-run record last year, and that tends to kind of regress. But that could be another team I like up and over.
Yeah, I still think their win total is still manageable. We can get over with Baltimore this year.
Laying points on the road in college basketball is an absolute landmine. I would not do it. I won't do it the rest of the year. I'm done doing that because it just consistently loses.
I mean, 3 possessions in a 9-point game in which the opposition now is the clock, not the actual team you're facing, right?
Right.
And these guys are taking up shots. I mean, it's just like, that's why it's the NBA.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Athletes in Canada, Wayne Gretzky, Connor McDavid, no longer can be part of these sports betting ads.
Now, what's interesting is there is technically a carve-out that will still let these athletes and celebrities appear in sportsbook ads, but it's only if those ads are slanted toward responsible gaming. So you could still have a Connor McDavid saying, hey, bet responsibly on TV in Ontario.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
4.22. The fastest man alive.
The guy just made himself a whole lot of money, did he not? By now holding the record for the fastest 40-yard dash. But if it's one thing we know is that doesn't translate into quality football players in the NFL. So somebody will bite and overdraft him because he simply ran faster than everyone else. It's just rinse and repeat.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Oh, Colorado and the Ducks, 76-75 right now. Like 1 second left in this game for Colorado. That's how close this is. Welcome to March Madness, but great to have you back, Drew, tonight. Just for the record, it's 49-46 right now with 3:30 left in the first half for the Denver Nuggets over the Boston Celtics. But any closing thoughts, Drew? And I'm going to have Brent Beard on a little bit later on. We're going to talk some college football. Can't wait. Man, new SEC, new Big Ten. Fox announced today, I retweeted out, but Fox announced they're going to have games every Friday night now, too. Nationally televised games on Friday night. It's either going to be a Big Ten game, a Big 12 game, or a Mountain West game. There'll be select double headers, but for the most part, it's just like one game, but like a big-time game. Remember in the old days, man, it used to be like we'd get San Jose State and Fresno State with Rod Gilmore and stuff. Remember, Drew, like on ESPN? Like 10:30 Eastern. Now it's going to be like, oh, well, Penn State's playing on Friday, huh? Like they got big games on Friday night now.
Huge fan of that. I mean, sometimes the Saturday slate, it's like there's too many good games at one time, whether it be 3:30 Eastern, 7 o'clock East. And it's almost like you got to have so many TVs. You can only pay attention to so many. I'm a huge fan of Thursday night, Friday night college football. So I think that's a smart decision by Fox. And Big Ten, one thing that maybe we could ponder on it just for a second here. Like this home field advantage for Washington and Oregon, and then therefore with the other Big Ten teams all the way on the East Coast, like some of these young kids going that far, I don't know if we've seen this kind of nature before in college football in the regular season. I think it's going to kind of tally up here towards the end of the regular season with all this travel for some of these teams. I think I'm going to be looking to be betting home teams more, particularly in the Big Ten later in the season, Gabe.
I'm fascinated to see, USC going into Iowa in the snow, playing in Penn State and stuff. I don't know if they realize what they've signed up for.
No, we get it in the Big 12 too, like UCF and Provo, Utah in November. 3 points? No way. That's like 10 points.
Thanks, Drew.
Thanks, Gabe. Always a pleasure, man.